Hello, wonderful family of Grandma's Truth. Welcome back to our channel, where we spin tales of life's twists and turns, sharing stories that inspire, heal, and remind us of our inner strength. If you're joining us for the first time, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a heartbeat. And don't forget to comment below, where are you watching from today? We love connecting with you all. Our special shout out goes to Aisha Khan from Lahore, Pakistan. Thank you for your kind words and for being such a loyal part of our community. Now, settle in with your favorite cup of chai or coffee, because today's story is a long one, full of drama, heartache, and ultimate triumph. It's called A Saga of Betrayal, Resilience, and Sweet Revenge. Let me take you through it step by step. My name is Evelyn Carter, and at 60 years old, I've lived a life that could fill volumes. Born in a small town nestled in the rolling hills of Virginia, I grew up in a modest home where my mother taught me the art of quilting, stitching together pieces of fabric into something beautiful and enduring. It was a skill that symbolized patience and creativity, qualities I carried into my marriage. I met James in my early 20s. At a local fair where he was selling handmade wooden crafts. He was charming, ambitious, with a smile that lit up the room. We fell in love quickly, got married in a simple church ceremony, and built what I thought was a solid foundation. For 35 years, I was the backbone of our family. I managed the home, supported James through his career ups and downs, and raised our daughter, Lisa, with all the love I could muster. James worked as an accountant at a mid-sized firm, often staying late into the night. I never questioned it. I trusted him implicitly. While he crunched numbers, I took on part-time bookkeeping jobs to help make ends meet, especially during those lean years when James decided to chase side passions. Remember that time he quit his stable job to try his hand at photography? He bought expensive cameras and lenses, convinced he'd become the next big name in landscape art. That dream fizzled after 4 months, leaving us with debt and a garage full of unused equipment. I stretched our budget, cut corners, and even sold some of my handmade quilts at local markets to keep us afloat. My own dream of opening a cozy quilt shop where I could teach classes and sell custom pieces was always deferred. After Lisa graduates, I'd tell myself, after James gets back on his feet, I sacrificed without complaint, believing that's what love demanded. Lisa grew into a bright, ambitious young woman. She studied marketing in college, juggling to part-time jobs because James often complained about how tight money was. "We need to save for retirement," he'd say, while I noticed our savings dipping mysteriously. But life rolled on. Lisa met her fiancé Mark, a kind-hearted engineer, and their engagement was a beacon of joy in our routine existence. We planned a beautiful party at a scenic vineyard on the outskirts of town, the kind of place with rolling green hills, fairy lights strung between ancient oaks, and a rustic barn for dancing. I spent weeks helping Lisa choose decorations, tasting wines, and even quilting a special throw as a gift for the couple. It was supposed to be a night of celebration, family, and new beginnings. The evening started perfectly. Guests arrived in their finest attire, the air filled with laughter and the scent of blooming roses. Tables were laden with hors d'oeuvres, cheeses, and fresh fruits. Lisa glowed in her elegant white dress, Mark by her side, beaming with pride. James and I sat at the head table with close family, my sister Marie, James's cousin Paul, and a few old friends. Across from us was Clara, James's assistant from the firm. She was 44, poised and polished, with short auburn hair and a sleek black dress that hugged her figure. I'd invited her myself. She'd been helpful at the office, even stopping by our home for holiday gatherings. I thought of her as almost family. As the toasts began, James stood up, clinking his champagne glass. The room hushed, expecting warm words for the happy couple. Instead, his voice cut through the air like a chill wind. "Evelyn," he said, looking directly at me. "I've been thinking a lot about our life together, and I've realized I've met someone else. Someone who makes me feel alive again. I'm leaving you." The words hung there, heavy and unreal. The vineyard fell into stunned silence. Forks clattered against plates. Guests exchanged wide-eyed glances. Lisa's face drained of color. Her hand clutching Mark's, Clara, across the table, averted her eyes but couldn't hide the small, satisfied smile tugging at her lips. She knew, of course, she knew this someone else was her. The weight of 100 eyes bore down on me. They waited for the outburst, the tears, the screams, the dramatic exit. My heart pounded, a mix of shock and fury. But I'd prepared for something like this. Even if I hadn't known the exact moment, 6 months earlier, I'd noticed irregularities in our bank statements. Small withdrawals at first, $200 here, $500 there. James brushed it off as business expenses when I casually mentioned it. But my bookkeeper instincts kicked in. I started digging quietly, tracing transactions like threads in a quilt. What I uncovered shattered me. James had opened a secret account, siphoning funds from our joint savings. Thousands gone on lavish dinners at upscale restaurants I'd never heard of, jewelry from high-end stores, and weekend trips to mountain retreats. The timestamps matched days he'd claimed to be at conferences. Then, one evening, he left his laptop open in the study. I wasn't snooping, at least. Not at first, but a notification pinged. And there it was, emails between him and Clara. Plans for a future together. Discussions about apartments. Vacations. Even how he'd announce our split after Lisa's engagement to avoid drama. He called me predictable and stuck in the past, laughing about how I'd never suspect a thing. The betrayal stung like 1,000 needles. But instead of confronting him, I channeled my pain into action. Remembering our prenuptial agreement insisted upon by James to protect his modest family inheritance from his late father, I reviewed it with fresh eyes. Buried in the clauses was a fidelity provision. Infidelity would forfeit the cheater's claim to the marital home, joint assets, and most investments. James had been paranoid back then, scarred by a friend's messy divorce. Now, that clause would be his undoing. I consulted a discreet lawyer, David Ramirez, an old colleague from my bookkeeping days. We built a dossier, bank records, email screenshots captured legally on our shared home network, receipts from hotels and jewelers. I filed for divorce the morning of the engagement party, timing it so the papers wouldn't process until Monday. James's public humiliation plan, I'd turn it against him. Back at the vineyard, as the silence stretched, I composed myself. "Thank you for sharing that, James," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I reached into my handbag, elegant clutch matching my lavender dress, and pulled out a manila envelope, sealed with care. I slid it across the tablecloth toward him. "This is for you. Something to review later." His eyes narrowed, confidence cracking. "What is this?" he demanded, voice laced with unease. "Just a little surprise," I replied lightly, as if discussing the weather. Turning to Lisa, I squeezed her hand. "Darling, this is your night. Let's not let anything overshadow your happiness." I leaned in, kissing her cheek, inhaling her floral perfume for strength. Standing gracefully, I smoothed my dress and addressed the room. "Everyone, please continue enjoying the evening. The wine is excellent, and the night is young." With that, I turned and walked toward the exit, my heels echoing on the wooden floor. Whispers erupted behind me as I pushed through the heavy oak doors into the cool night air. The vineyard's lights twinkled like distant stars, but I felt a strange calm. For the first time in years, I was in control. The doors burst open moments later. James stormed out, face flushed, envelope in hand. "Evelyn, what the hell is in here?" he shouted, his composure shattered. Guests peered through the windows, but I kept walking toward the parking lot, gravel crunching underfoot. "You'll find out soon enough," I called back. "But perhaps you should focus on your new life now." He caught up, grabbing my arm gently. "Old habits dying hard. This isn't funny. Talk to me." I pulled away. "Oh, I'm done talking, James. You made your choice clear in front of everyone. Now live with it." I drove home to our 2-story house on Willow Lane, a charming colonial weed bought 25 years ago with my inheritance from my mother. The wraparound porch, the blooming garden I tended, it was my sanctuary. Inside, the air smelled of fresh lavender from the sachets I'd made. Family photos lined the walls. Our wedding day, Lisa's first steps, vacations to the beach, it all felt tainted now. Upstairs, in James's closet, I found his suitcase hidden behind winter coats, packed with clothes and toiletries. He'd planned to leave the next day. I laughed bitterly how utterly predictable. My phone buzzed incessantly. Texts from Marie. "What happened?" "Call me." From Paul. "James is out of line." "You okay?" From Lisa. "Mom, I'm so sorry. Coming over soon." I replied only to Lisa. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Stay and enjoy. We'll talk tomorrow. Love you always." I'd kept my discoveries secret for months, not wanting to poison her joy. She'd be upset, but she'd understand my protective instincts. 3 hours later, James's SUV roared into the driveway. The front door slammed, shaking the framed pictures. "Evelyn," he bellowed, storming through the house. I sat in the living room, a quilt draped over my lap, sipping chamomile tea from my favorite mug. My laptop was open to the divorce filing confirmation. He burst in, envelope crumpled, face a mask of rage and panic. "What is this madness?" "Divorce papers. Filed today, of all days." His voice echoed off the walls. I set my tea down calmly. "It seemed fitting, given your announcement. You wanted to end things publicly. I'm just accelerating the process." He paced, running hands through his graying hair. "You can't do this. That prenup is outdated, expired years ago." I smiled faintly. "Actually, David reviewed it. The fidelity clause is perpetual, tied to the marriage's duration. You should have read the fine print before." Insisting on it, his eyes widened as the implications sank in. The house, our savings. The vacation cabin by the lake hall protected under that clause. His affair would cost him dearly, but we built this together. He protested, slumping into an armchair. 35 years, Evelyn, doesn't that mean anything?" I met his gaze, memories flooding back the way he'd held me during my mother's illness. The tears we shared at Lisa's birth. The Friday night dances in our kitchen. When had it all soured? "It meant everything to me," I said softly. "That's why your betrayal cuts so deep. This wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated plan. Stealing from our accounts, lying about trips, promising Clara our future." I pulled out my phone, playing a recorded snippet from a conversation I'd captured in our home office. James's voice, laughing with Clara about how Evelyn suspects nothing, she's too trusting. His face paled. "You recorded me? That's illegal." "Not in this state, when it's about protecting marital assets," I countered. He stood, defeated. "I need to call my lawyer." "Go ahead," I said. "I'll be at Marie's tonight. You have until tomorrow to pack your things." As I gathered my bag, he pleaded, "What about Lisa? This will destroy her." Anger flared in me. "Don't you dare use her as a shield. You weren't thinking of her when you drained our savings for your mistress." I arrived at Marie's cozy bungalow across town, where she taught art classes at the local community college. She enveloped me in a hug, her home smelling of paint and fresh-baked bread. "You're a force, Evie," she said, pouring wine. We sat on her porch, stars overhead. As I poured out the whole story, the discoveries, the planning, the prenup's ironic twist, Marie listened, her eyes widening. That envelope moment. Genius. He never saw it coming. Lisa arrived an hour later, still in her party dress, mascara streaked from tears. Mark trailed behind, supportive but silent. "Mom, why didn't you tell me?" she cried, collapsing into my arms. "I couldn't bear to ruin your happiness," I explained, stroking her hair. Over the next hours, in Marie's warm living room surrounded by colorful canvases, I revealed everything. The secret account, the emails, the months of quiet preparation. Lisa's shock turned to fury. Dad's been distant, always on his phone. I thought it was work stress, but this stealing from us while I worked doubles to afford school. The doorbell rang. James and Clara. Marie answered, her face stern. "What do you want?" James pushed past, Clara hovering awkwardly. "Evelyn, unfreeze the accounts. Let's talk rationally." Lisa stood, blocking him. "Rational? You humiliated Mom at my party." Clara shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't know he'd do it publicly. I thought it'd be private." James glared at her. "Not helping, Clara." The tension crackled. Marie intervened. "Leave. You've caused enough pain." As they departed, Clara whispered to James, "You said you had savings. What's going on?" More cracks in their facade. The next days blurred into a whirlwind. I froze the joint accounts via emergency filing, leaving James with only his secret stashed barely enough for basics. Word spread through our tight-knit town. Friends called with support. Gossips whispered at the grocery store. I stayed composed. James and I are parting ways. Life moves on. Meanwhile, James's reputation as the reliable family man crumbled. His firm lost clients when rumors of his affair surfaced. Clara, learning of his financial woes, packed up and left within a week, citing misrepresentations to mutual acquaintances. I threw myself into my dream. With my secure assets, I leased a quaint storefront downtown, transforming it into Evelyn's quilt corner, walls lined with vibrant fabrics, a workshop area for classes, and a cozy corner for tea and chats. Opening day brought neighbors, old friends, and even Lisa, who helped design the logo. Business boomed. Custom quilts for weddings, baby showers, anniversaries. Each stitch healed a piece of my heart. The court hearing arrived on a rainy Thursday. In a stern courtroom with wooden benches and a no-nonsense judge, David presented our case meticulously. The prenup, evidence of infidelity and financial misconduct. James's hastily hired lawyers stammered objections, but the judge ruled swiftly. The agreement holds. Assets as per the fidelity clause. James, left with Scraps' business now, faltering without my input. Personal items, and a small apartment rental. On what would have been our 36th anniversary, the divorce finalized. James looked haggard, alone. I walked out free, stepping into sunlight. Lisa called, "Proud of you, Mom." New beginnings, indeed. From the ashes of betrayal rose a life stitched with purpose, strength, and joy. Thank you for staying with me through this epic tale, Grandma's Truth family. If it moved you, like, share, and comment your thoughts below.